James Riyadi, managing a good reputation in business, an assignment by Table 5 of the 11 a.m. class on Tuesday. James Riyadi is the chairman of the Lippo Group in Indonesia. Riyadi has struggled to maintain a positive reputation in business, with issues arising around his political conviction and public relations. In 2001, Riyadi was found guilty for illegally interacting with government officials with regards to fraud, and his issues regarding public interactions have been indefinitely occurring. Riyadi is mainly based in Indonesia, however he does operate internationally. Through his conviction of political fraud and the prejudice he has faced regarding Asian stereotypes, Riyadi has suffered scrutiny from key demographics who differ with his opinion.
Riyadi has faced three key issues in managing his public reputation. These include the interplay of his political manoeuvring in his business life, the stereotypical judgment he has faced based on his outward appearance, and also the act of overcoming prior negative perceptions placed upon him. Politics and business rarely mix well. Often when they do, there are significant conflicts of interest due to business wanting government to make certain laws. This is not democratic. James Riyadi led to the Lippo Group through a changing Indonesian political landscape. They were transitioning towards a more democratic and open society. This created some difficulty for the Lippo Group, with critics pointing out that the conglomerates prospered through the close relationships with former President Suharto. These relationships began to fall through as more democratic society was being formed, and the public saw these actions as wrong.
Theory analysts in business lobbying government is quite common. Sometimes they use a direct force strategy where they take action to force the command to take place. The political maneuvering strategy is where the change agent works to hold power over people to bring about change. This is commonly done with large sums of money or fear of punishment. This method produces limited results and can often end up in bad publicity. It had the same limited effect for James Riyadi and the Lippo Group when in 2001 he pleaded guilty to conspiracy to defraud the United States for contributions to the campaigns of Bill Clinton and other Democrats. This illegal activity proved to be no help to the company's image.
The cultural environment is extremely diverse and always changing. This is why Christian opinions that dominate all decisions, especially when the education centres can be inequitable for society, as it is not offering opportunities for those of different religions. Riyadi needs to understand that religious groups are ever developing and are growing in different parts of the world. The Muslim religion has reached 12.5% in the CEA and therefore is no longer a minority group. So decisions guided rationally by religion should be included in all religions within the specific demographic to which the decisions are relevant. Riyadi should understand the theory of pluralism, which members of both minority cultures and major cultures are influential in setting key values and policies, such as what is taught and preached in Lippo educational facilities. In the future, the theory of organisational culture should be adapted with business ventures for Lippo Group catering to the shared beliefs of the specific public in which the services are targeted. Riyadi can still act as a generalised symbolic leader using some religious morals that are relative truths between other religious groups, such as maintaining the fact that Riyadi acts as a democracy with lack of discrimination while generating personal wealth. With terms of decisions of the organisation that James is managing, organisational strategy can be implemented for decisions of consistency, with secured objectives as conditions alter, such that as frustrated Muslims towards Riyadi for his interpersonal behaviour for the religious, ethical and moral teaching, as the Muslim children are being educated on Christianity views. Universal versus particularism is a strategy that can be embodied as a culture accepts flexibility and bends the rules to fit the circumstances. Radi could teach the children in a mild form of Christianity to be flexible for the religious views upon the matter and then be expansive in his ethical decisions on culture and diversity.
The halo effect is a concept where an overall perception of an individual is formed based upon an individual attribute. This concept can be employed by Riady to strengthen his public relations. Riady, whether he is truly concerned with social welfare or not, presents himself to the public as such by publicly sponsoring education regimes. The hospitality portrayed by Riady in such cases encourages the public perception of him to be positive. The theory of selective perception is also relevant, as it describes the way in which individuals tend to focus on attributes in others which support their own values. Riady, being an evangelical Christian, is well known to actively engage with staff and students in religious devotion. Through this, Riady is presenting others the opportunity to relate to him on an interpersonal level by projecting their own shared beliefs onto him.
In the case of James Riady, his normal tactics involved a direct force approach, which in many cases led to bad press due to anti-corruption laws being broken. A better approach for James Riady to take in order to work towards a better public image would be that of a shared power strategy. A shared power strategy seeks change through mutual participation in meeting each party's needs and goals. This method limits the criticisms of the leader and can win them widespread admiration. Managers need to have others on board in order to create a long-lasting change, and in the case of James Riady, he needs government to be willing to work with him and adopt the changes he seeks to make. This approach is currently being used by the Riady family, who manage the largest private education fund in Southeast Asia. It generates good publicity, and it also shows government that this firm is a positive change agent. Stereotypes. Firstly, the Lippo Group will identify the issue which skepticism over possible evangelism and one-way ruling to Christian faith. Then Riady must generate ideas and problem solutions, such as hiring Muslim teachers in his private schools to cater for the wider public demographic. This decision must be weighed up with the benefits, cost of expansion, how long will it take to convert skeptics to possible clients, and lastly, the group must make sure that proposed changes meet ethical standards for everyone, which in this case, that is the goal. Once the solution is chosen, steps towards implementing the expansion must take place. Riady must market his schools to new demographics as well as publicise the fact that his moral rulings have been adapted. Once the decision is implemented, Riady and the Lippo Group can analyse whether they have achieved the objective of widening their market and incorporating greater multiculturalism in their business models. The outcome and objectives are that with continual pursuit of broadening ethical morals in business decisions and teaching other forms of religion in Lippo Group educational facilities, James Riady will have effectively become a more ethical and cross-cultural leader. We can run 21st century society with 17th century notions of organisation. James will be in need of incorporating adaptive designs in order to have flexibility with short-term recognitions of the culture and diversity that is present throughout his organisation, with placement of new requirements to be met and necessary capacities to be had. Flexibility will be implemented throughout his educational system. He can also include organisational design in management to create a combination of supporting structures and situational challenges that are faced throughout the management process of the organisation to rather support the Muslim views and create a wider scope of a
The action plan for politics and business is split up into short-term goals being 1 to 3 months, medium-term being 3 to 12 months, and long-term being 1 to 5 years. In the short term, the responsibilities for management in the first 1 to 3 month period, upper management need to review the ways in which the company and attached individuals associate with governments. For the medium term being 3 to 12 months, inserting the shared power strategy so that businesses can attempt to mix with politics in a fair and ethical way. And in the long term, being 1 to 5 years, all staff need to use this strategy and apply it to all staff in all areas of the business. James Riardi and the Lippo Group must implement an action plan which changes how he runs his educational centres to teach to a wider demographic. These changes will promote multiculturalism, culture and diversity. These changes will in turn promote a positive ethical business reputation for Mr. Riardi and Lippo Group. In the short term, Riardi should learn to adapt his process of decisions to incorporate the wider demographic and culture of Indonesia. To promote the positive reputation, media interviews and marketing would be an appropriate way to show the population that demographic has changed that he's marketing to. Over the medium term, the whole board of managers must implement the changes into school and teach to both Muslims and Christian students. In the long term, the Lippo Group must hire educated Muslims and Christians to teach at his centres. This teaching must be merged together. Research can be done to check if the extended teaching to cultures has worked and whether there are also Muslim students now enrolled at his schools. If Riardi does this, his profits will increase due to more students and also his reputation will improve and he will be known as an ethically sound businessman.
In the short term, management theorist Keith Davis sums up society's views on social responsibility by noting that there is an expectation for businesses to assume significant social responsibility. Riardi must continue to engage in activities as such which strengthen society's perception of him, such as the construction of schooling facilities. In the medium term, Riardi should overhaul his image and attempt to engage with key demographics by playing upon their shared beliefs and values. In the long term, the overall focus of the Lippo Group should be to adopt a proactive approach with regards to social responsibility by engaging in activities which help to create a culture of societal concern. This may be achieved through establishing schooling institutions to further develop his image as socially conscious.